So that's why we've got to get on the same page as it relates to, and that's where the reflective responses come in and LUV, all that comes in, and that's so valuable. I just really wish people would try it, at least if you want to make that connection or get an understanding of what is being said.
Okay, so now we've listened.
Mm-hmm.
We've done the reflective responses, so we've understood LU. And then the V would be when the other party would validate, yes. Of course, in our example, you said no, you didn't validate. You said, no, that's not what I meant. But with this back and forth, you're going to listen.
Right.
You're going to repeat it back to make sure you understood. And then the other person is going to validate. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. So therefore, the communication is really clear.
Right.
LUV, listen, understand, validate.
So we've done active listening. We've done reflective responses. And now we're going to do the nonverbal awareness. Okay. So the body language, eye contact, all of that, the tone of voice, that is so important. All of this it speaks louder than words itself. You know, the nonverbal awareness. You see what I'm saying? If you come to me and you say really harsh something, then like you say, I'm going to shut down. I'm not going to hear what you say. And it's going to be, okay, why is he speaking to me that way? So it's almost like a disrespect or a you don't care enough about me or something like that. So the nonverbal awareness, the language, how you're looking in my eyes. If you were to touch me softly, then I would say, wow, he cares enough about me to really hear what I'm saying, or he needs to say something to me, whatever, make that the communication part.
So whatever you say, nonverbals, touching you shows that I care. We talked about the importance of caring earlier.
Right.
So I'm about to tell you the truth, but I've shown you that I care.
Right.
And now the way I'm going to tell you the truth is going to be in a manner that's soft.
Yeah.
Which soft isn't my natural state when it comes to having frank conversations. I don't try to be harsh.
Right. But you can be if you are elevated in your feelings or whatever, then you're not soft. That's why you have to be careful about that, making sure that you've come down and making sure this is a good time for us to speak, right? We talked about that once before. Is it the right time? Is it the right tone? Or are we in the right place, right turf?
Are you going to talk about that?
Well, you can tell them more about that.
So one of the things about great communication skills are using, and we're talking about nonverbal awareness now. So it's what are some nonverbals? Although your tone is verbal, it's just some things to be mindful of. Are you using the right tone? Is this the right time?
Right.
So in a relationship, oftentimes you have a person who likes to, let's address this right now.
Yes, there is. Yes. Because they want to get it out right now. But sometimes if the right tone is not there, and it's not the right time, you need to give it a little time, step away from it, and then come back so that you can get you can have the real communication.
Yeah. So very seldom is there a sense of urgency that this has to be discussed right now. Now, I know that you may prefer it be discussed right now, but now may not be the right time. Things may be elevated. So is it the right time? Are you using the right tone? And then we talk about the right turf, meaning is it the right place? Here's an example of how I tend to be, I'll say, more transparent with communicating. I remember a story when you and I were on the way to church years and years ago. And on the way to church, we had an argument. And you remember this story?
I do.
And I remember one of the things at church, we always sit really close together. We sit really close together everywhere. So, there's no space between us. And I remember we got to church. We were at a new city, new church. We didn't really know a lot of people there. And you leaned over and said, hey, put your arm around me, basically like you normally do, or people are going to think you're mad at me. You remember what I said?
I do.
I am mad at you. Mad at you now. Mad at you when we got here. Maybe mad when we leave. I mean, that's just. I don't like faking it.
Well,
Now is that the wrong turf? I don't like if you and I are having a disagreement, I'm not big on walking into somewhere else like we're all buddy buddy.
I
Now
guess that's a little fake.
yeah, I think it's a little fake. Now I'm not suggesting you air every grievance in public,
Exactly.
but anyway, so that's an example of communicating, and I guess what you would say was the wrong turf.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think it was the wrong thing. It was the wrong place. I mean, I really had kind of let it go. Apparently, you hadn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a good moment to talk about I statements.
What does that even mean?
Say when okay, and maybe this is something I learned in my clinical training.
Okay.
It is saying what you truly feel. I feel. And not blaming, not and always. I mean, not saying always and never. And remember, we've talked about that before. Certain things you just don't say because a lot of times that's not true. You can't say you always do this or whatever. And also, you're being accusatory when you're doing that. I want us to really focus on the I statements to say, I feel unheard when you say certain things.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I
And
know what you're saying.
okay,
I
so now,
didn't know what you were going to say.
okay.
So yeah, what you're saying is, and I remember when I guess you first brought this up to me,
Mhm.
so it was something that I learned, is because it's one thing to make accusing statements, you never or you always, or when we're trying to communicate, it's one thing to just, hey, I don't want to hear what you're saying. But something that nobody should be able to disagree with is, I feel like this when you do this,
Mhm.
because I can't tell you how to feel.
Correct. That's exactly right. And when a person, when a couple or one of the people in the couple talk about when they say you do this or start to blame, I really would like people to go back and circle back and really focus on them, not trying to focus on the other person because you can't change the other person, right? We've got to focus on what can I do and
Is
and
is that a fact? You can't change the
no,
other person?
you
Because I
can't.
think people feel like that. Oh my gosh, people get married all the time, and you say more so than I do. But I remember when I would be in the counseling room with you, we
Mhm.
would say, "Didn't you see this when you were dating?" And they would often say, "Yes, but I thought either that would change or I could change it."
Right, and the majority of the time, if you're engaged, you've got what and you this is the person. Marriage is not gonna change this person that you've been dating. Does that make sense?
So you said when you're engaged. What about if you're dating?
Well,
What about if you're not engaged?
if you see dating, I mean, in your dating process, you are getting to see the real person.
So
Now, sometimes people can make smaller changes because they never been married and they can make a few changes, but I'm talking about those the personality parts.
okay.
They don't usually change that much from when you're dating to when you get married. So don't go in thinking that you're going to change a person.
So speaking of that, here's another communication tip. Hey, communicate early and often, don't delay, because when people show you who they are, believe them.
Exactly.
So if while and this was the approach that we took, or certainly I took when we were dating, hey, we're not married. I mean, what am I afraid of? I mean, I'm not I know people would say, I'm afraid that he's going to leave. I'm afraid that she's going to
Mhm.
leave. But that's not the approach I would suggest that you take. It certainly wasn't the approach that I took. I had decided by after much prayer, years and years of prayer, it was clear to me that this was who I should marry.
Mhm.
So some 40 years ago, it was apparent that this is who I should marry. But I'm not afraid that you're going to leave, because if I see something, hey, see something, say something. so now that doesn't mean I was nitpicking and looking for stuff,
Mhm.
but if things were going wrong, I communicated that to you.
Yes, and I hope a couple, if they're dating, that they are doing that. They are being real with each other, and and maybe I don't know. A lot of people put on a face,
See, I hate
I
that.
know it.